name is Krista, and this is my husband, Monty. Almost 10 months ago, we decided to be brave. We did a thing. Actually, we did a lot of things. At 49 and 54, we became debt-free, adopted our 7th child, bought an acreage that we're turning back into a homestead, and asked my parents to move out to the country and grow old alongside of us. But we are all just the extras. This story is about the land, God's goodness, and what it's all about to teach us. Kind of trying to figure out where to start. I guess we start back in the spring. It's certainly not the beginning, and I hope it's not the end. So I guess we start somewhere in the middle. We bought the farm, packed up and moved 7 kids, 2 horses, a few old hens, and 1 mean rooster. Just to clarify, when I'm talking about the old hens and the mean rooster, I'm not talking about the grandparents just quite yet. They'll be joining us later once their country cottage is built. The original old home is gone with a new one in its place, but the 100-year-old barn, a couple of hen houses, and a few newer buildings remain. Man, if these walls could talk, I bet they'd have some stories to tell. Stories of life and death, of hard work, hard times, and definitely of abundance. This property met our requirements of an acreage with a place for 7 kids to run free, chickens to frolic, horses to roam, and a place to bed them all down for the night. Sounds idyllic when I say it, and it is, but it's not. What we are choosing is simpler, but we aren't naive to the fact that it won't be easier. In fact, it will probably be much harder, but hopefully so worth it. So are we homesteaders? Do we want to be? This was a question Monty and I asked ourselves after almost 7 months of living here. We didn't necessarily move out here to homestead, but once we got here, we began to wonder how the land could serve our family, or even better, how we could serve and honor the land that God brought to us. I had to look up a definition to define us. I think we're getting there, at least beginning to define ourselves and what we want to do with this place. We certainly aren't farmers producing food for profit, but we are beginning to use our land to produce at least a small portion of what we eat, with hopes and dreams to raise more to feed our family and to share. They say that chickens are the gateway animal to homesteading, and we certainly have lots of them, and lots more to come. So maybe we are becoming homesteaders. Maybe this is the beginning of the journey, or at least the beginning of the chapter. Maybe you want to join us, and maybe you don't. Either way, you're always welcome down home. March 25, 2023, the beginning of the garden. I'm bone tired tonight. We all are. Spring arrived this week, and while the weather's deciding what to do, we are taking every opportunity to get outside and get started with a new garden plot. There wasn't one here when we moved in. Besides the pasture, there is so much shade that we have only a few workable options. So we decided beside the well, near the old barn and silo, would be as good a spot as any, at least for now. The layout of all of this is still unclear in our minds, but it feels like time to move forward. It feels like an experiment that we are holding with an open hand, hoping for success while not being naive to the failures that are sure to come as we learn what the land has to teach us. Monty and Grayson built raised beds, disked and tilled new soil, put up trellises, and laid down hay from the old barn. That's one thing we seem to have an abundance of, old hay and manure. The old stalls were full, and it's fun to think about the animals that once lived there. Composting is something I definitely want to learn more about, using the resources already here to have rich soil to grow in and putting the garden to work in the fall, composting and preparing its soil for the spring. My grandma, who also had a large family, always said, "Many hands make quick work." Since a tractor scoop wasn't cooperating, we filled the raised beds with purchased topsoil and compost mix, 1 wheelbarrow full at a time. And then we turned our attention to the potatoes.
Mom, we're kind of farmers.
Digging the first potato trench, we came upon a surprise we hadn't seen when we first tilled. At least one end of the garden seemed to be full of small rocks. Since it's near the barn, we're wondering if we happen to plop the garden right on top of something that once was. The old granary and silo are nearby, so possibly a part of an old rock drive that has long since grown over with grass. After all of the hard work we had already put into that garden space, we decided to move forward and hope for the best. Note to self, remember, we're learning. Do it all with an open hand. We may need to pivot. We can do hard things. After our discovery, it began to rain. I guess the potatoes will have to wait for another day, maybe tomorrow. It's definitely time for supper and a soft bed. Observations from today. I love how working together as a family encourages the children who aren't naturally hardworking helpers to find their own rhythm, do hard things, and be proud of what they can accomplish.